What's up? I'm PokerBrandon. This is going to be session 3, my third video for my sessions. It consists of 13 significant hands, and let me get right into the action and break it down as specifically as I can for you so I can give you my mindset and what goes through my head when I play poker. Okay, so there's a bunch of limps all the way around, and I look down at Jack 8 off, so I just limp in. Now, one thing I want to notate is when I first sit down at a table, even if I know the player's playing, for the first round or two, depending on how I feel, I will just play very slowly. I will check a lot. I'm barely betting. I'm min-betting. I'm not even raising because I just want to see what players are playing with. I want to see how they play. I want to get to showdown. I want to see their hands and get information. Sometimes some players can play one way one day, another day they're playing tight, the next day they're playing loose, the next day they're going crazy. So I just want to get a feel for where everybody is at. So we went 3 ways to a turn, and under the gun leads out for 20 right here. See, this is one of those spots where it's a little bit confusing. If there was a lot of money in the pot here, if I had already raised huge, it would be pretty, I would be acting in the unknown. I would not know how this guy plays, what is he doing. So this is why I like playing small ball for the first round or two when I sit down at a table. So he makes it very callable. I call him and realized he just raised me with the king on the turn and he thought it was good. I take down a $56 pot. Okay, this is significant hand number 2. I look down at an 8 of hearts. I am in the cutoff. So it folds around to hijack, who limps in. This table was a heavy limping table. Now once I realized that this table was just heavy with limpers, now I'm gonna go ahead and start raising and become the aggressor now. This is my first raise for $30, 5x raise on a straddled pot, and I know it's gonna show some power. Button calls and straddle calls. Straddle seemed to be a heavy caller. Flop is 699, and I have a backdoor. I have a couple backdoors. Straddle checks to me, and because this is my first raise pre-flop, my first little mini, you can call it like a heavy raise, but it wasn't too heavy, $30. I can rep a very big hand right here. I haven't raised $30 this whole time since I've sat down. I have 2 overs, I have a backdoor, I have a couple backdoors actually. I bet $100. It's just very easy to believe I have a big pocket pair right here. The only gamble I had was button to my left, who hasn't acted yet. Straddle thinks about it, no idea what he had. He probably was thinking about calling with 2 overs right here. That's his play style. Anyway, he lets it go, and I win a $71 pot. What's up? So this is my third significant hand of the night. I realized when I sat down at this table that this table was a very heavy limpy, low ball, small ball table. They loved cheap showdowns. There's a couple tight players to my left. I look down at King 9 of diamonds, and because everybody's tight, I go ahead and I just check it. I don't go too crazy, too much, too fast. That's just a great way to become a rebuyer at the table. So anyway, the flop is king, queen, king, and I'm loving it. It checks around to me. There's no need to slow play. I put in a light bet of $10, and heavy caller hijack goes ahead and makes the call. Big blind goes all in for his short stack. Really not too worried about that. It's basically a 3-bet sizing there. I take a little bit of time to think about it, and I go ahead and make the call here, hoping hijack stays in with his queen. or draw. But hijack thinks, and he lets it go after showing a queen. So action's over. My stack is slowly climbing up. Turn is a 3 of diamonds. River's a 4 of diamonds. I end up hitting a flush, but I didn't need it. Big blind showed king 7, so my king was good as it was. Okay, so this is the 4th hand out of 13 of the significant amount of hands I played at this session today. There's a limp. I bet $15 because I'm in position and the table's pretty tight. So I don't mind playing poker against a couple of these guys. Heavy caller, big blinder makes the call, and +1 makes the call. With my queen 10 suited, we're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop is ace king 8 with 2 clubs, so I have the second nuts as a flush draw, and I have a gut shot. Now when big blind bets 15, if he has an ace here, I don't want to just call him down with the stack he has and possibly not hit my draw and lose my chips. So if he doesn't have an ace, or if he has a weak ace, I just want the pot now. And what I do is I go ahead and raise him all in. Well, what I thought was all in. I was about $5 to $15 short. He makes the call. I figure he has an ace, so we're gonna go to a run out. I show my cards. Turn is exactly what I needed. I have the second nuts. He does not show the nut flush, and he shows an ace, and I win. As I'm playing at this table, I start opening a lot more. And players notice. But the table seems to still be very limpy and very tight here. And when a table gets like this, they just get very limpy and tight. I will occasionally throw in the random bluff and show everybody so that I can wake people up just a little bit. As you can see here, I'm on the straddle. I look down at the ugliest hand in poker. At least the top 3 ugliest hands in poker. And honestly here, I wanted to just check it and fold it, but I was thinking about, you know what, let me wake this table up a little bit. Everybody at the table's tight. I bet $45 on the straddle. It folds, and small blind folds. And then I show my hand, and get this. Player across doesn't even look. Player to the left with the blue sleeve, striped shirt doesn't even look. Only the player to my right and the player to my left exactly saw my hand. Nobody's really paying attention. Everybody's playing their hand. And I'm just astonished at how people are playing at this table. It's just a very tight table. Anyway, 6th significant hand of the night, I look down at Queen Deuce. And when I see Queen Deuce and I'm in position on a tight table, it looks like Ace Queen to me. Feels like Ace Queen. So I go ahead and lead out and become the aggressor, hoping to take position right here. I don't. Button makes the call. So that was a little bit of a downside. But now you can see people are starting to call. People are starting to play. This is because I'm raising a lot. I'm opening a lot of pre-flop hands. Flop is 6-7-3. I have absolutely nothing but a backdoor, 1 over that may not even be the greatest over, but I hit that over. So I hit the queen, it checks around back to me, and I'm gonna bet. I was the original raiser, I hit the queen. It's possible someone in here does have a queen, but it's very less likely that it's small blind, big blind, or under the gun. I try to throw in a bet sizing that will take the pot down right now. I bet $50 into a $75 pot. Button quickly calls. I did not like seeing that call because he was only playing and calling with top pairs, big draws, and he was a big stack. So he could stack me here if I got too crazy. And then small blind called, and the whole flop has small blinds range just all over it. So I sort of got myself into an ugly situation here. The pot's building up, and the river bet, if I make it, it has to be huge to take this pot down. And I just can't do it. It's too much, too risky, too gambly. So it's possible someone has a 7, most likely small blind could have a 7, button could have a 7, and I throw in a clocker bet. Now, the reason I call this a clocker bet is because it's a confusing blocker. And when I bet this, button just laughed, and then he showed the flush. So it accomplished what I wanted. You know, I wanted to get to showdown. I wanted to see the showdown hand. He didn't raise me, probably confused him a bit. He laughed. He looked at me in the most confusing look, and it got the job done. Anyway, next hand I see pocket tens. Okay, so my stack is slowly going up and down. I was at $600 previously. I'm at $522 because I am being the aggressor at the table. I make it $15. Cutoff makes the call. He's an extremely tight player. This was probably his 4th hand playing in about 2 hours. Flop is 7 king jack. There's no need to get crazy right here. I check it. He checks behind. It's possible he could be slow playing because he's been so tight and he knows he needs to keep that tight image and let me bet. So even though I have a gut shot, I check it again. He checks it again. There's really no money in the pot now. My tens might be good. I just throw in a $5 bet. It's pretty much a value bet, more so than a clocker. And clocker, again, to reiterate, is a confusing blocker. That's just my thing. I'm gonna use that term and keep that term going. Okay, so this is the 8th significant hand. My stack is around $623. I look down at a 7 of diamonds. I'm hoping for an ace of diamonds or another 7, maybe an 8 of diamonds. I see a 4 of diamonds. That's not exactly the best card, but I'm on the button, and I like the way these guys play. I like that they fold a lot. So I go ahead and make it $15. I expect to play a pot against 1 or 2 of them. They both call. So with my 2-away connectors, we're gonna see a flop here. Flop is 5 jack 3. It's not the right kind of red I wanted to see, but I have a gut shot, and that gut shot is enough to bet after seeing 2 checks to me. These players have been pretty tight to my right that are in the hand, and the simple $20 continuation bet should get the job done if they don't have a jack. Hijack makes the call. Cutoff makes the call. Now, if they did have a jack, one of them, I would have expected a raise there with 2 hearts on the board. 10 comes. Hijack checks. Cutoff checks. My hand is 7 high. But if one of these guys had 2 pair, they were betting that board. They're not letting a 2 pair hand see a free card with 2 flush draws out there, a straight draw out there. So I'm feeling pretty good about continuing right now. The only problem is on this turn bet, I need to make this look way more believable. I need to put in a very nice, believable bet. This is the first time I go ahead and second barrel with a 7 high hand. And now these players are probably thinking, okay, he really does have a hand this time. He's not just being aggressive. But that was not the case. I had 7 high, and I'm still being aggressive. Okay, so after I win this pot, there's a hand that I didn't get to record. Basically, it was a straddled pot and I won $200 because I was chasing a flush draw while continually barreling for 3 barrels. On the river, I ended up hitting 2 pair. I did not hit a flush draw and I was good. So I picked up a nice size. It was about $200 and now I'm on the big blind right now, sitting with $900 about. And Hijack, the new player, raises to $11 after seeing an under the gun limp. I look down at ace-9 suited. I'm on the big blind. Hijack is a new player. I haven't really seen him play too much. Sometimes I would raise here. Calling is just fine. Under the gun calls, we go 3 ways to a flop. Flop is 5-7-4. Okay, so when I see flops like this, and I'm on the big blind or the small blind or the straddle, I have thoughts like this running through my brain. Hijack raised. 5-7-4 should not be in his range. Under the gun could have any set here. He shouldn't have any 2 pairs because he's usually playing big cards. So, the only risk I'm taking here is that Hijack or under the gun has a set, and because even though I only have ace high, I bet that. I bet $20 under the gun called. So now I gotta play a little bit carefully. He could have called me with the flush draw. He could have called me with 2 overs and he hit a 10. He possibly could have a set here. So I check it to him to see what he does. He doesn't bet. So automatically now sets rule out of his range. He would have bet those, I feel. Flushes roll out of his range. He would have got value on those. And when this 4 comes, unless he was playing a set very safely and he did not want to bet on that flush 10 hitter, it's possible he just has a 1-pair type hand. Now my hand is probably not good, so I bet out $50 to take it down and he makes the fold. Okay, so my stack has climbed up about 3 times my max buy-in. I'm now sitting with about $919, and I'm pretty satisfied now. Usually when I'm up about 3 times my max buy-in, I will start to slow down some gameplay, play a little bit tighter, and only build up my stack on very carefully played hands. But that's not always the case. So I raised it to $10 here because I'm mixing up my pre-flop betting. I don't want to bet 15 every time and look like a robot. I get 4 callers. I'm on the low jack, and we go 4 ways to a flop. Flop is 9 ace jack. Big blind checks it to me, and with my pocket 2s, I go ahead and check it. No need to get crazy right here. In fact, if somebody does put in a bet, like new player right here in the cutoff, who sat down and put $300 down, it's possible these new players just like putting money in the pot on middle pair, bottom pair, and they just are hungry to play poker. They've been waiting, they showed up to the casino, they want to play, they finally sit down, and they put money in. That's a very highly statistically accurate thing to say about new players. Keep that in mind when you're watching new players come and sit down. Some of them, they just want to get some money in right away. So I know that. And I go ahead and put in a check raise right here. My pocket 2s, I hate folding them. They're pocket 2s. They're a good hand pre-flop. They're always a bad hand post-flop, about 95% of the time. So you can make moves off of your pocket pairs, and that's what I do. If he doesn't have an ace right here, it's going to be hard for him to call this. If he does have a draw with the backdoor flush draw, it's a pretty easy call. But if he was just getting fishy with a jack or a 9 and no big draw, it's pretty hard to call this, I feel. Although Next time, I probably would make this bigger. I might make it $115 next time. It's sort of a mini raise. He thinks about it for a while and then he makes the call. So when he makes the call, he could have a weak ace here, he could have a strong jack, or a big draw. That ace was the most terrible card for me and for my story, because I bet this like I had a two-pair type hand. I bet it like I had a set type hand. And when the ace hits, it just really makes my hand look like I was bluffing. I throw in a clock or $10 bet to confuse him a bit. He doesn't care. He has an ace. He shoves all in. And he wins. Okay, so my stack is steadily staying at $900. I look down at 8-6 of spades. The table has become limpy again. I'm in position, and when the table is very limpy and very foldy, and all we're getting to is some chopped pots between the blinds, 8-6 suited is a nice hand to lead out with and try to take the position down. Unfortunately, I do not get position. Button new player makes the call. Now, button new player already saw me take a stab at a pot, and he knew I was bluffing after I did not call his all in. Flop is 10-10-7. I have a straight flush gut shot. I have a flush draw. The board is paired, so that's not the best. Ideally, though, I don't want to bet this because if he raises me, I'm going to be put in a tough spot. I check it. Next card is an 8. It's a very, very nice card for me because if he has 2 overs, it's unlikely they're spades, and it's very likely now that my hand is good. So there's only $35 in the pot. I don't want to see it check behind me, so I bet $15 for my paired 8. Now he raises me sort of min. He raises me to $35. This could be a 10, possibly. This could be an 8 as well. Could be a 7. I have a very huge draw. I thought about re-raising right here, but if he has a 10 in his hand, it's possible, if it's strong enough, he might jam on me. And he very well could already have a straight right now. I want to see another card, so I just make the call. Now the next card is my first straight flush I've ever hit in my life. So I'm pretty excited, and it sort of threw me off. It sort of tiltingly threw me off in my head. Now I'm wondering how I'm going to get max value out of this guy. I put in a clock or $10 bet when I was bluffing. He knew it. He'd shoved on me, and I didn't call. So he knew that when I bet extremely small, I was on a non-made hand. I had a weak hand. So just using that idea, that simple idea, I go the exact opposite. Instead of putting in a very small bet, which showed that I had no hand, I actually go ahead and put in a very huge bet. And I want the player to just automatically feel like, why would I stupidly put in a huge bet on a very strong hand? If I hit the nut flush, why would I stupidly go all super huge on this river? If I had a straight right now, because there is one card to a straight. If I had a straight right now, why would I bet super huge with a possible flush out there? That doesn't really make sense. If I have a full house, why would I bet super huge? Wouldn't I want to get paid? Doesn't make sense. So it's a very confusing $200 bet I put in there. And I'm hoping Button thinks about it and just realizes this does not make any sense. Like, this bet just makes 0 sense, and out of purely knowing that, he makes the call. When he starts to take this long, I figured he had a 10. Now he shows a 10, he sort of flashes it my way, and he's trying to get an angle on me. I don't really care He could show both his cards. It's not gonna affect me. I don't mind it. Do what you want to do. But at this casino, they don't allow that. The dealer did a great job telling the player that he's not supposed to do that. The dealer did a great job calling the floor to make sure that all of us at the table are following the rules. The floor comes and the floor explains that the player cannot do that and his hand should be automatically mucked if he doesn't make a decision instantly when doing that. And if he does it again, his hand will automatically become dead. So the floor did a very good job at regulating the way the game is played to make it fair for everybody. Personally, I don't mind it when you're holding the nut flush. And I severely was hoping that this guy was making a big show with quad tens, but it became more and more evident that he did not have quad tens. Now the reason I say I wish he had quad tens was because if he did, we would have hit a jackpot right now. We would both get paid a couple
Lay down.
thousand.
I hope you had pocket tens to have a high hand.
There was a promotion going on. If you had a high hand and it lasted for 2 hours with nobody getting a better high hand, you win about 300 to, I think it's $300 for that 2 hour section. So I go ahead and call the floor to get my high hand logged into the computer, but it did not make it. Somebody ended up hitting a royal flush later, a couple hours later. Anyway, next hand, I look down at ace deuce offsuit. This is my 12th hand at this session. It's a limped pot. I'm +1, and we go 4 ways to a flop. Flop is ace, 2, 3, 5, jack. Why do I say it that way? Because that's what I'm thinking about when I see this flop. Low jack, the guy who just laid down a 10 against my straight flush bets $15. Straddle makes the call. Now, I have a gut shot and I'm holding the ace of spades. It's not a bad flop for me because I love making moves while holding the straight flush blocker. Straddle here checks, and because low jack bet, it's very more evident that he has a jack in his hand. It's not likely that he bet with the 5 in his hand. I'm on the +1 and it's a limped pot. It would make sense that I have a 5. It would make sense that I check call a 5. So when this 5 comes on the turn and I have a gut shot with a nut flush blocker, I have lots of reasons to go ahead and put out a bluff right now. And that's what I do. I bet $50 to make it look like I just hit trips. Low jack thinks about it. He's mad at me for hitting a straight flush on him. And he makes the call. Now, I didn't bet high enough and I couldn't get him to fold his jack. But it doesn't really matter. I don't need to bluff shove the river because I hit a 4. Now I'm not putting this guy on 6-7. I'm not putting this guy on a set. He might have raised me on the turn if he had a set. And he looked very uneasy when he made that call on the turn. So I know this guy has a jack in his hand. I've already bet super minimum and he shoved on me. I already bet super huge with a straight flush and he didn't call. So I just put in a value bet of $75. I tell him I have a straight.
There's 2, 3, 4, 5.
So low jack gets really angry. He throws his cards down. He tells me I made a gut shot. Unbelievable. He shows king jack. You saw that. And I end up taking down the pot. So now I have about $1,000 in front of me. I'm on the straddle. And this is going to be my last hand, my last significant hand I played before I left the casino on this session. I feel pretty happy that my stack has climbed up to 3x what I bought in for. I look down at pocket kings. It's really great when I see the new player raise to 35 and I have pocket kings and there's a flat behind him. And it gets even better when small blind flats behind that guy. There's already over $100 in the pot. There's more people limped in. Now, right at this point, I make sure I still have pocket kings and I did not misread my hand. Believe it or not, I have misread my hand a couple times. My eyesight's not the best. Now I look around at the stack sizes. The pot's already $100, and I want to make this about, I realistically wanted to make it about 2.5x the pot, which is about 250 bucks. And the highest stack at the table was 300 to my left, and he was limped in, so he probably wasn't gonna call. But small blind had about 250 bucks. So I go ahead and put in 335, knowing it's about 275 effective. +1 to my left will later tell me he folded pocket fours, but he took a long time before folding pocket fours after limping in. He seemed pretty stressed about it. Now, I don't know why he was stressed about it. Maybe pocket fours is his lucky hand, but realistically, you have to throw away pocket fours every single time after you just limp in and you're facing an all-in. For 100 big blinds. So he took a long time to think about this. I don't know if I believe him if he did have pocket fours or not. Like, why are you really gonna try to shove and play with me? I guess because I was so aggressive at this table, it just looked very likely that I was making a move on a weak hand. That's what happens when you raise a lot and you play a lot. People just really don't want to believe you. Hijack has about $109, and he goes ahead and he calls the all-in for all his stack of $109. Cutoff folds what he later will say was ace-jack offsuit. He thinks about it and thinks about it, and he makes a very smart lay down. Pretty good player there. He knows when he's bad. He's not a gambler. And button also will fold what he will later say was ace-10 offsuit. Small blind doesn't want to fold, and he makes the call. We go 3 ways to an all-in. I'm happy to show my pocket kings. The main pot's 327, the side pot's 332. Right away, hijack shows an ace. So I don't secure the main pot so far. Next card's a queen, and next card is a 7 of clubs. Hijack shows 2 pair for ace-5. All he needed was the ace. I'm a little bit worried, but small blind never shows his hand. Small blind mucks, and I take down the side pot, which actually happens to be a profit for me. So I make $57 on this. I'm happy. I played a little bit more, and I ended up leaving for about $1,000 with a $700 profit. My name is PokerBrandon. I'm your basic fish player at the low limit cash game tables, trying to make moves and sometimes embarrass myself. Anyway, tell me what you like in this video. Tell me what you don't like. This is only my 3rd session video. I want to make it better for you because I want some good entertainment coming your way. Anyway, have a good day. Peace out.